Hi, this is Michelle Sam from Sammy Wong's Kitchen. Today I am going to be continuing with my sourdough bread making 101 series. We're going to be talking about bread math. So for some of you, you're just going to like click, nope, I don't like math, so I'm not going to listen to this. Before you exit this video, let me explain why you should learn just two concepts of bread math. What I would like to teach you is baker's percentage and hydration when it comes to bread. This will allow you to be a lot more flexible in the kitchen, especially with bread making, and you can create any kind of recipe you really want just by understanding bread math. So you don't have to be tied down to a bread recipe after you understand these concepts. You can be as creative as you want, and if you decide to get onto the sourdough bandwagon, then you can create whatever you want just because you know these concepts. So hang in there. The math is not that difficult. Okay, so the first concept I'm going to teach you about is baker's percentage. What is a baker's percentage? Well, in bread, the main components are your dry ingredients, which are usually the flour, your add-ins, and to a certain extent the levain. And then you have the water. What a baker's percentage is all the different other added ingredients as a percentage relative to your flour weight. Very simple concept. Okay, so it's every single ingredient besides your flour as a percentage to the total flour weight. That's a baker's percentage. So in some recipes, especially like manufacturers' recipes, they will just say, you know, we assume that the flour is going to be 100%, and relative to the flour, there's going to be water, and that's going to be anywhere from 60 to maybe even 80%. And then you'll have your add-ins, maybe it's your seeds or your nuts, and that might comprise 5%. What I need to let you know is when people think about percentages, they always think, okay, it needs to add up to 100. For baker's percentage, the components is not going to add up to 100%, but really what it is the weight of those ingredients relative to the flour weight. So don't get all freaked out when your percentages don't add up to 100%, because let me tell you, they are not. I'm going to go through an easy exercise here just to give you an idea of what the baker's percentage will look like. For our bread recipe example, we have 800 grams of bread flour, 200 grams of wheat flour, 740 grams of water, 200 grams of levain, and 20 grams of salt. As I said earlier, the baker's percentage is the ratio of the various ingredients expressed as a percentage relative to the total weight of the flour. In our example, the total weight of our flour is 1,000 grams. Now we are going to calculate the percentage of the other ingredients relative to the 1,000 grams of flour. 740 grams of water will be 74% when 740 is divided by 1,000. 200 grams of levain will be 20% when 200 is divided by 1,000. And 20 grams of salt will be 2% when 20 is divided by 1,000. Just remember that the amounts of the ingredients will need to be divided by the amount of flour to get the percentage. But the percentage of the other ingredients will not add up to 100%. So let's work backwards. Assume we only have 600 grams of flour and we know the ingredient percentages. 74% of 600 is 444 grams of water. 20% of 600 is 120 grams of levain. 2% of 600 is 12 grams of salt. And here's your bread recipe using 600 grams of flour. Now do you see the benefit of understanding baker's percentages and how this will really help you in your sourdough bread baking? So now that you understand the baker's percentage, you have the flexibility of creating any kind of recipe, even if you have a limited amount of a particular ingredient on hand. The second concept I wanted to explain to you is the hydration percentage. This is the percentage of water to flour. Now, you're like, well, just read the recipe. This is where it comes in handy. As you start on your sourdough journey, you will experiment, and then there will be some breads that you like this particular feature of the bread, and then others you don't. You don't like the crumb, which is the texture of the bread, or you don't like the crust, or it just kind of spreads too thin, or it's really dense and could be used as a hockey puck. As you go along with this, you can then experiment with hydration. So I'm going to explain to you what hydration means in bread dough making. What is hydration percentage? The hydration percentage is the percentage of water relative to the total flour. So why is this important? Well, it allows you to be more flexible and creative in the kitchen. The higher the hydration percentage, the wetter the dough. The hydration level affects the crumb, which is the appearance and texture of the interior of the bread. Closed crumb breads have a lower hydration percentage and are more fine textured. Open crumb breads have a higher hydration percentage and have lots of irregular holes. So you can see from this chart that we can have anywhere from a stiff dough texture with a 50 to 57% hydration. This yields a dense crumb, and an example would be, bagels or pretzels. Standard dough texture would be a hydration level of anywhere between 58 to 65%. This would be evidenced by a denser closed crumb, as in sandwich bread. And then we have a rustic dough texture where the hydration percentage is between 66 and can even get up to 100%. But I've just put 80 as the maximum here. This yields a really open crumb with large irregular holes. And depending on the range, you can have your regular sourdough bread to pizza all the way up to focaccia. In our hydration percentage example, let's assume we have 500 grams of flour and we wanted to make a stiff dough. So for a stiff dough, the hydration percentage is anywhere from 50 to 57%. This would mean we would need 250 to 285 grams of water. So pretzels, we know, has a very closed crumb, so maybe 250 grams will work, and 285 grams for bagels. Sandwich and French breads are a standard dough type that requires a hydration percentage of 58 to 65%. This would mean we would need anywhere from 290 to 325 grams of water. Lastly, for our regular rustic sourdough loaves, pizzas, and focaccias, these rustic dough types require approximately 66 to 80% hydration. This would mean anywhere from 330 grams to 400 grams of water. Now you think you can just go into the kitchen and whip up any bread recipe and it will be a success. I hate to break it to you, but it's not that simple. For one thing, now with hydration, flour absorption of water is affected by brand of flour, the protein level in the flour, and the way it's ground. Being aware of the type of flour you're using will help you understand and make adjustments to your bread to hopefully end up with a beautiful and tasty loaf of bread. Since this video is about bread math, I'll stop here. Flour absorption for the next video. If you're watching this video and you're a sourdough beginner, I would recommend you starting off with a hydration level on the lower range. This will make it just easier to stretch and fold, and then easier to score, just easier to manage. As you get more experience, then you can start increasing the hydration level. So I hope this has been helpful, and happy baking. More recipes can be found on sammywongskitchen.com or social media. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks!